My name is David Gentry, president of Good Things Small Packages, and I am interviewing Marlon Barbour, who tells his story of overcoming abandonment, youth homes, detention centers, and barbarism to become the author of Be More and the role model he sought as a child. This first video is an introduction to 4 videos comprising the interview: A Wreck of a Child, Insight, Transformation, and Destiny.
A lot of my role models, because I didn't have a father, were drug dealers, hustlers, scam artists. By the time I got to high school, I had probably been in about six or seven placements, those being juvenile detention centers, shelter homes, group homes, and foster homes. I was somewhat of a wreck. The violence, the corruption, the degradation, the poverty, and the barbaric mindset. Single parent family homes. 80 to 85% of us who grew up in our environment grew up without a father figure. The great Lenny Moore came to the youth facility and spoke to us about some of his experiences growing up. That was an aha moment for me because it allowed me to begin that period of restoration as far as my inward man was concerned, in questioning myself and what would it take for me to get to that level of excellence in my life so that I could be applauded for doing something great and being something great. Another transformational moment in my life was when I got put in jail for a situation that I didn't do. At the age of 18, I was falsely accused by a foster parent for breaking into her home, my home at that time. Ended up spending a little over 6 months in jail for breaking and entering. The second aha moment for me was when I was in jail and when I realized that I didn't want to be a statistic and that I wasn't going to be a statistic. A third one was when having my children. I experienced being a teen father, and then having another daughter while in college. And I realized that I was going to be better than my father. I realized through parenting and having kids, having my daughters, having my son, that I was going to create a legacy and that I was going to leave this earth with something. The transformation of me being who I am came in a very dark period in my life. It was a period when I was in my mid-20s, and it allowed me to see myself as a person that could have friends who are Caucasian Americans, white Americans, and friends who helped for me to become who I am. One specific period and point I remember is working for a group of friends of mine called the Wades, as well as being good friends with a group of brothers called the Bachmans. I began to realize that by me growing up the way that I had in institutions and having a broken family and not having my brothers in my life, and then seeing the camaraderie amongst those brothers, the Wades, and seeing it as well as in the Bachman family, I realized I was missing something. And it was that point in my life that I realized that I may never have that kind of family, but that God was giving me a human family to be a replacement for what I didn't have. And they weren't, and these weren't black males. These were white guys who had befriended me and took me into their families. And the one thing I want a lot of people to understand and to realize is that a lot of times in life you have to challenge yourself to erase your past and to not have any remorse for how your life turned out as far as the past is concerned, but be willing and open to embrace the blessings and the gifts and the opportunities that are right before you. I realized that they were my brothers, not because we have the same gene pool, or even that we have the same skin color, or that we're from the same ethnicity, but that we have the same spirit of faith and the same spirit and ambition on the inside of us to want to be something in life, to be more in life, like my book states. I was restored and was able to come into my sense of purpose and being and wanting to work with youth as well as young adults, anybody who feels like their life is not meaningful or that their life is not worth living. Invited me to come to his work environment in which I was able to work with a group of young men, which allowed me to see I had a gift and a passion for speaking into the lives of those that are who have been brought up in unfortunate, very bad situations, whether it be drugs, whether it be gun violence, whether it be institutionalization or incarceration or abandonment, abuse or neglect. I was able to realize by meeting him and him taking me to his work environment, I realized at that point in time, along with having the friends like the Wades and the Bachmans, as well as my other friends that I met, I was meant to do this.
Yeah. Well, why don't you tell us then about this book? What's one major point? Is it possible to do that, to sum up the book in that way?
Well, the one major point that I want to make to sum up the book as a whole is, despite your dire, most deprivated, and ill-willed ironies and tragedies in your life, that there really is no ceiling, that the sky is the limit.